distinguished guests, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Agosta, and it's an incredible honor to stand before you tonight, back here in the beautiful and resilient Republic of Korea. First, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Ministry of Patriot and Veteran Affairs for sponsoring this extraordinary Revisit Korea program for Korean war and defense veterans. This is more than just a return trip. This is a powerful reminder of the bonds we forged and the progress we've witnessed. My journey to Korea began decades ago, but in truth, it began even before I was born. Between 1945 and 1948, my father proudly served as a part of the U.S. occupation forces after World War II with the 32nd Infantry Division of the 7th Infantry Division in an area around Chuncheon. He often spoke of Korea with deep affection. It left a mark on his heart and on our family legacy. Following in his footsteps, I began my Korea journey in 1978, straight out of flight school. A wise colonel once told me, "Your best aviation assignment will be in Korea with the 377th Medical Company Air Ambulance. Dust off Korea." And he was right. Back then, we flew the iconic UH-1H Huey helicopters. We flew day and night through valleys lit by Jeep headlights and up to mountaintop air defense sites, always answering the call to save lives. Our mission stretched from Busan to Warrior Base, and it always ended up at the 121 Evacuation Hospital in Seoul. Every flight was a test of skill, but more importantly, a mission of compassion, service, and unwavering commitment. Living in the Yongsan Garrison in the late 70s, I witnessed firsthand a Korea that was still developing, but yet very determined. The streets buzzed with bicycles, buses, and multiple Hyundai Pony taxis. When I left in 1979, I had no idea I'd be back to Korea, but Korea has a way of calling you home. In 1989, I returned not just as a pilot, but as a commander of the same unit that I once served in as a young lieutenant. Now we're flying the UH-60 Blackhawk with night vision technology. We could carry our life-saving missions faster, safer, and with greater precision. And just like aircraft, Korea has transformed. The country had just hosted the 1988 Olympics and was surging forward with newfound energy and pride. I remember flying over Seoul, seeing its skyline expand, marveling at the Olympic Stadium, and watching the streets come alive with privately owned vehicles. Giants like Samsung and LG were rising symbols of a nation on the move. This time I wasn't alone. My family was with me. They embraced the adventure. Our children took part in youth sports and even appeared in Korean television ads and print media. My wife, Ellen, found her calling as a teacher and director of the South Post Chapel's preschool program and shared her heart through teaching conversational English to Korean students and adults. Her joy was contagious and her impact lasting. In 1991, we left, not knowing Korea had one more chapter in store for us. In 1994, I was selected for battalion command, and once again, Korea felt like the right place to lead. That tour brought unique challenges, including the recovery of an Army aviator near Panmunjom and the activation of a 2nd Air Ambulance Company in Chuncheon. It also brought personal milestones. Our daughter graduated from Seoul American High School, and Ellen continued her work nurturing young minds at the Mustard Seed Preschool program. Looking back, Korea was not just a place I served, it is where I grew as a soldier, a leader, a father, and a husband. The challenges were real, the missions demanding, but the experiences were deeply meaningful, and I am grateful beyond words for the opportunity to serve here not once, but 3 times. Tonight, as we reflect on our shared service, let us also celebrate the enduring spirit of the Korean people and the powerful alliance that has brought us all together. We didn't just witness history, we helped shape it. And through it all, we built something far greater than ourselves, lifelong bonds of respect, friendship, and purpose. Thank you, and may we continue to honor the legacy of service that brought us all together. 감사합니다.
Hello. I knew of South Korea before my orders made it my next duty station. My great uncle, thank you, on my mother's side, my grandmother's brother, he was both an Army and an Air Force veteran who served during the Korean War. I only knew this because he wore the Korean War veteran's hat. He never spoke of it. When he learned I had orders for Korea, he sent me a message simply saying to be careful, which was a rare message from him. My own Army enlistment found me in Fort Hood, Texas. I was a 92 Alpha working as a clerk in the motor pool of a tank battalion. On August 11th of 2001, I received my orders for Korea. 1 month later, September 11th happened, and my battalion was given 30 days to deploy to Iraq. But my orders to Korea stood. I stayed behind, sending off friends, some of whom would not return, before reporting to Korea in February of 2002. I spent 16 months stationed in South Korea, first as a clerk, then as the training NCO of an air defense unit. It was a demanding time, but I was determined to explore. My duties took me across the country, and I grew to love the people, the culture, and the food. After returning to the US, I got off of active duty, and it coincided with one of my uncle's vacations to Florida. I got to talk to him in person about my deployment and how Korea was a place I really enjoyed. He told me how relieved he was for me, and he began to share some of his own experiences as a forward observer with the 1st Cav. On one mission, he was badly injured, and a Korean family hid him before he could be rescued. He spoke to me about the family, the conditions he faced, the men he lost, and the trauma he carried for many years. That connection, his past and my present, has stayed with me ever since. I was struck by how far the nation had come since my uncle's time, and the contrast between our experiences quietly bridged generations. We figured out we had been in some of the same cities decades apart. He said he never spoke of it, and I was honored that he would share his experiences with me. We would go on to speak of Korea a few more times, him usually revealing something he hadn't before, or something he said he had remembered since our last conversation. Looking back, I realized I arrived in Korea heartbroken, carrying the weight of grief and survivor's guilt. But I found peace here. Living in Korea remains one of the most impactful chapters of my life. Returning through this program has been deeply meaningful. It has allowed me to honor the soldier I was, honor the service and sacrifices of those who came before me, including my uncle, and reconnect with a place that continues to hold powerful memories. I have also been able to reflect and celebrate the enduring strength of the US-Korean alliance and the progress we've made together. As I close, truthfully, I am nervous to speak, but I hold close to my heart that today is also my uncle's birthday. And so this feels like more than just a coincidence. So I want to say cheers to him and cheers to all of my fellow veterans here. Thank you to the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, the Korean Defense Veterans Association, and of course the US-Korean Alliance for giving me this opportunity. 감사합니다.
Thank you. I served in Korea as a U.S. Army photographer from May of 1968 to June of 1969. First of all, I would like to say how deeply my wife Lauren and I appreciate the wonderful experience and kindness we've experienced so far from our ROK friends. I arrived at when I graduated from the University of Missouri School of Journalism in 1966 with a degree in photojournalism, there were only 2 choices a guy had in those days. One was just wait to be drafted. The other was to enlist for school, which the Army would guarantee you got, but did not guarantee that you could do that job. I did enlist for the Army Photography School because that was the field I really anticipated to be my life's work. And because of my degree in photojournalism and previous professional experience, I was assigned as an instructor at the Photographic Army Photo School at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, which was known as the country club of the Army back in those days, principally because of the great golf course, which enlisted men I don't think ever played. But I did come to Korea in May of 1968. And one of the first things I learned that they showed me at the unit was photographs of the incident where the soldiers had been ambushed and killed in the DMZ near the Joint Security Area. And I realized at that time what a serious situation I was getting into, and how important, hopefully, our photography product was to the success of the effort. One of my first assignments, and I think it was a test, another of our photographers had photographed the Deputy Commanding General and his staff at his quarters. The picture didn't turn out, so I was assigned to go back and repeat it. It turned out I did a very good job. Everything was nice and sharp and focused. The general was very, very happy with the photo, and since he was in the process of leaving the country in a few months to go back to the U.S., he asked me to come along with him and document his visit to many civic areas in the country, and for slides that he was going to use at a speech he was giving to the Association of the U.S. Army when he returned. And that was my first experience at seeing directly the Korean people and the country in many different places. Our unit did many different kinds of photography. We did chain of command portraits, which many of you officers had done, perhaps at our unit in those days. We did promotion photos, accident and criminal investigations, and one of our big continuing assignments was to document the infiltration attempts that the North Koreans made along the East Coast. They sent groups of commandos in, and the commandos, we were told, were told that that they would be welcomed with open arms by the villagers in the Korean villages along the East Coast. Well, those villagers immediately turned those commandos into the ROK Army. The ROK Army came along and wiped them out entirely. And then our photo unit got assignment to go photograph the equipment and the bodies for photos that would be used at the Armistice Commission to prove violations of the agreement. There were several milestone events that I have personally photographed. One, I had an assignment for Stars and Stripes to cover the turnover of 2 American destroyers and their commissioning into the ROK Navy in Busan. And I traveled on an overnight train with the civilian press corps. And they treated me very nicely, and I made friends there that I never would have made without that assignment. When we got there, President Park gave a speech. Several of the Navy top commanders gave their speech, and then we got tours of those 2 ships, and there were women in their hanbok, and I had a press conference with the commanding officer of one of the ships, and it was just a great experience, and those pictures were used in Stars and Stripes when I made it back to Seoul. I've been telling some of the guys in the trip that we had it very nice in the photo unit. We never had to stay out in the field more than a day or two because our photos had to get back to the lab and be processed so they could be delivered to the agency that had requested them. So we had it very easy in that sense compared to the guys in the field. Our other really big assignment was to document the return of the crew of the USS Pueblo, which happened on December 23rd, 1968. I talked to a lot of younger people. They have no idea what the USS Pueblo was, but the USS Pueblo was a U.S. Navy ship that was captured by the North Koreans off of Wonsan, and the crew was tortured and imprisoned from early 1968 until late December 1968. Our unit documented their return, and while I was at that time in charge of the photo lab to sort of whip it into shape, I went with several other NCOs up to the Joint Security Area 2 days before the return of the crew so we could plan the logistics and where our photographer would stand, that sort of thing. In those days, the Joint Security Area was wide open. There were just a few little wooden frame buildings. And I took it upon myself to be able to say I had been to North Korea, so I just walked around into North Korea behind the building where the Armistice Commission met, hung out for about 5 minutes and came back. So I'm always able to say now, I've been to North Korea. And the thing that impressed me so much about Korea was I did a lot of tours on my own through the USO and just taxis to the different monuments in Seoul. And I've never seen more hardworking people than I saw back in those days in the late 60s. And seeing what has happened to Korea since then, I can see that the entire country has continued that extremely hardworking quality to make the country into the powerhouse that it is today. Thank you very much.
even though there was an armistice signed, we didn't feel that the job was done. And so that saddened us because we wanted it to be finished. We all were so overwhelmed, I think would be a good word, with what had happened to South Korea. We felt such an offensive thing that had happened to such a peace-loving nation. So we didn't want that to stop. We wanted them to get their country back. Coming back was the greatest thing for me because I was able to see when we left here, I saw everything that was bombed out and ruined. And to come back, even though I was aware over the years of what had happened as far as the rebuilding, it was so amazing. It has been so amazing to see and hear all that's happening and see all the development, because to me, rebuilding Korea, I feel, must be to the South Korean people a sense of need to be able to show that they could come back, they could revive themselves, and they could prove to everybody that they weren't defeated. They are still very happy with their country. So I think that's enough.
네, 제가 즉석에서 부탁드렸는데 잘했죠. 네. 다시 한번 즉석에서 부탁드렸는데 이렇게 준비된 것처럼 소중한 이야기를 들려주신 미스 루이스 라이 규인님께 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.